Greetings and welcome back to another video. It's Friday? Saturday. Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, it's Friday. um, it's been a couple of days since my last update, probably 3 days. Um, let's just sort of go through. Things are looking rather healthy despite the heat. We've been in the 100-degree range, like 95 to 105 for the last few days, pretty much all week. This lettuce is looking really good, but you might notice that I pulled one right here because I noticed that the sprinkler wasn't able to really get past it. It was just blocking the water, so things are looking better. I've been putting extra water cycles into this. I do have, let's see, there's a couple of the radishes growing there and some leaves and some weeds which I need to deal with. These are now, even though they're about the same color, this is a little bit more yellow than green, so they're starting to distinguish themselves. I thought somehow there was an accident and I planted both the same kind of lettuce even though I have them labeled differently. No, I think we're actually okay here, but I'm going to have to thin pretty soon. And actually the one head of lettuce that I pulled out of here was actually pretty good. We enjoyed it. But you can see I've got, well, I don't know how well that's going to come through, but there are a number of heads I'm going to have to go through because they really should be separated by a certain amount so they're allowed to grow a little bit bigger. So I'm going to have to figure out thinning those out and pull some of them. Same thing here. Carrots are starting to grow, but I know they're not quite ready yet. Over on the watermelons, I finally got 3 of the new ones to pop. That's good, and I finally put a label in there. But look at the cucumber plants. These things are going crazy. And this one has a little tendril coming out of it. We'll talk about that in a second, but I mean, this one's working its way across, and now we've got the Swiss chard doing nicely. Even the spinach is not doing that bad. Though I planted multiple seeds for spinach and multiple seeds for Swiss chard, I've only got, well, maybe 3, maybe, okay, now the ones I planted or replanted are growing. Over here the cantaloupe is starting to look like I need to actually transplant it, which means getting up on the hill, putting a little bit more soil and transplanting a couple of them. But look at this cucumber here. This is the pickling Boston cucumber, and with all these tendrils sticking out here, I think it wants to climb, so I gave it some longer stakes that I had, and I'm hoping that it'll grab onto those. But then, speaking of climbing, I mean, look at the beans here. We've got, there may have been a screw up in terms of the labeling. These should be runner because they're both the same. So I've got 2 scarlet runner beans growing here. I've got corn that's starting to look like corn. That's really starting to take off. Nothing behind it, but moving over here, look, we've got little flowers on our bean plants, and this is what's helping me to determine that I may have made a mistake here. So both of these say provider, and they have the purple flowers. If we move over here, I got 1 purple, 1 orange. And I have them labeled on the left as Scarlet Runner and on the right as Provider. If those are both providers and they're purple, then the one on the left here is probably the Provider and the one on the right is the Scarlet Runner. So I think I have the labels switched. Not a big deal. At least I'm aware of it. Over here, let's see, we've got squash, but the bean plants are kind of not doing great. Well, I mean, they're healthy. They're just not growing as fast. And the corn, again, is starting to really look like corn. No sign of dent corn behind it. Oh, yeah, maybe. Maybe there is one little plant back there. The squash, which in this case is the, I need to move the label out in front of it, patty pan. That's getting bigger. So things are really starting to look up here. Straight neck, 2 small ones. They're looking good though. Nothing on yellow dent back there, but I mean, I've got 1. Let's see if we got more. The zucchini are both looking okay, just kind of small. And yep, there's a yellow dent back there, as well as a couple of sweet corns. So that's good. So now I've got 2 yellow dents where I had none. I'm being positive here. I don't see yellow dent back there, but heck, if I've got at least 2 of them, that's a good thing. Yeah, so I'm happy with the way things are growing despite the heat. I've managed to keep them alive. Up in the pumpkin patch, they're looking healthy. They've been wilting a lot, but I just keep throwing a little bit more water at them, and I'm managing to keep them alive. So that's what it's looking like here. Let's go look in the back. I'm actually starting to think that the daily updates maybe are impractical, especially in the form of a long video where you get like a full week's worth of updates in one video. Might as well just give you 1 or 2 of them so you could see that there was some progress. Look at the nasturtium growing back into the tomatoes. Just healthy plants, that's a good thing. The tomatoes are looking healthy. The black crim are getting bigger and bigger. Oh, check it out. We've got, well, actually, we've got flowers growing on the basil, so I'm going to pinch that off. So I don't want the flowers yet. I want actual basil that we can consume. If it goes to flower and then goes to seed, then you don't get much for leaves. I can see flowers on the Roma tomato plant. It's kind of bouncing around, sorry. Hopefully you can see them. So that's a good sign, and it's getting bigger, so I'm starting to believe that it's more possible for this to actually support an actual fruit now. Looking at the cherry tomatoes, I got a bunch of little plants growing, well, that's a bigger little plant, so, and more basil growing in there, so I'm happy with that. Looks like a couple of the nasturtiums have volunteered themselves in the planter where I had to rip them out, so that's good. In the peppers, the cherry pick, it's really kind of hard to tell. I think I've got a couple of them right there, I hope, but otherwise I see a bunch of weeds and more weeds here, so I need to do some weeding today, just get some of this stuff out of the way. Look at the poblanos, that's nice, and actually we might have some more over here now. So we've got at least the 3. Yeah, it looks like we have maybe 4, 5, 6, 7. I need to pull the weeds so we can do a proper count. Over here, now this has been a concern. I can see what looks like basil right here and another basil over here, but is that right there, is that a pepper plant? Is that a pepper plant? I mean, they're tiny, tiny little seedlings. If so, I mean, there's not a lot of weeds in this one. So I just let it go, I guess, and see what happens. But what is going on with the Nikita? Now that appears to be dry, so I need to check the sprinklers and make sure that that's working. But I mean, this half appears to be wet from yesterday, and it's morning now. So yeah, that's kind of, it's a battle trying to get them. Once they get started, if I can keep them alive, then they will grow. So the trick is getting them started, and we're getting later and later in the season for growing. Fortunately, here in Southern California, Los Angeles, we get a lot of sun. So it's not like in October we shut down completely. And hopefully in October we'll have some pumpkins. But because of the sun, we have an extended growing season. It's only when we finally get to like December that it starts to get cold enough to really be a problem. And we might even, I mean, with global warming, we might get lucky. Boy, that sounded weird. Anyway, that's what the update looks like out here. Now there's one other thing, our slide for the pool. Now this is not gardening, but it's something that, you know, in the heat we're trying to enjoy. This is my little contraption. Let me see if I can get it in an angle so you can see it. This is how I've had to fix this over the years. This is actually irrigation tubing. Well, actually, that's the clear tubing is just general tubing. The irrigation is usually black or green or whatever, but I'm using a T like you would use for irrigation to split the water coming up and going to the first nozzle and going down to another nozzle down there. So that it got heated up last year, and when we tried turning it on this year, it just started spitting everywhere. So I just replaced that. But then, this will give you a perspective. This is that vine, bush, whatever you want to call it, that keeps growing right up to the slide. So I need to do some trimming and get this thing under control. Probably want to attack that at the same time. Let me see if I can just come around and give you a little bit of a perspective what that's looking like. Yeah, unfortunately the sun, the position of the sun right now is kind of blocking it out, but you can kind of see how close it's getting to the slide. So I'm gonna have to deal with that, and I'm gonna have to deal with the weeding. So that's the plan for today. There's hoof prints up there. I had seen, and I'll try to show you here, what I've captured in terms of animals coming into this, well, passing by the garage and coming up in this general direction. I've had a lot of cats, I've had the raccoon, and I've seen a couple of deer. So I think that's what the hoof prints are about. Fortunately, all the plants seem to be okay, but I'm going to have to figure out something that's a deer deterrent. And I think what I'm going to end up doing is moving that camera from the driveway over here, along with the floodlight I've got, and another one that I've just ordered will eventually get put up here, just to, you know, suddenly light the scene up as soon as they walk in and hopefully startle them and scare them back off. We'll see. I'm actually thinking I could put the floodlights up in the trees, up in the citrus trees, so we'll see. That's the weeding done. I'm realizing I need to kind of groom the hill a little bit, and I still need to deal with the hard piping that I just put in, and maybe even get another sprinkler head in there and a couple of the plants in the nursery, if you will, down below here, like the cantaloupe, and well, we'll see. I got to make that decision, but there's something else a little bit more pressing I got to deal with today, and I want to get it done before it gets too hot. So things are about to pick up. that takes care of the backyard. Now there's one other thing I wanted to do next in the priority list, and that's dealing with a couple of the sprinkler heads that are I'm still chasing it down. See, every time I kind of get everything working, something else breaks down. It's not that they're all manufactured bad. We've got old pipes, that's part of it, and then sometimes just there are accidents, and I step on a sprinkler head or trip on it or whatever. And so this one right here, right kind of in the middle of the picture, behind the green garbage can. Anyway, that one has been, if you look right, yeah, there we go, right about there. It's been spitting downward, not just spraying out the way it's supposed to. So I pulled the head that was there. Let me grab it. My personal feeling is that the ones that are designed to be, so I can get that in the shot there, that's a 180, which is designed specifically to do exactly 180 degrees. And actually this one is, I think, a dual level, which is kind of a good thing. But the problem with 180s is that if the pressure is a little bit higher, they go more than 180 degrees. And for whatever reason, this one also gives me, it's been spitting off to the side. So what I like is, and this is not necessarily a brand thing, but what I prefer is something that's about a 15 foot, and it's a 360 degree adjustable, so I can basically dial in what I want. But before I use that one last brand new one that I have, I'm going to try another one that's an adjustable. It's only 8 feet. It was sitting in the pile from something I pulled before. It might not be any good, but let's turn it on right now and hope that it doesn't hit the camera. And with this, we'll be able to see if it's going in the right direction, and I can try and make fine-tune adjustments. I gotta get that zone on. Come on. I told it to turn on. There we go. And it builds up pressure. Now this one's adjustable from the left to the right. So in other words, it anchors at the left. You've got to set the head on the shrub adapter and get all of that tuned so it's aimed in the direction that you want on the left, and then you can tune it in, spread it out further to the right, which is what I'm going to do. All right. This one appears to be working, so I was able to put a used head on there. I'm really just trying to, with that head, trying to get water on that iris. As far as going further up the hill, that was part of my concern. What if I'm doing 8 feet instead of 15 feet? Ultimately, the impact sprinkler should take care of that. So that takes care of this one. Let's go take a look at another one. Okay, do you see the giant wet spot on the ground? Let me go turn it back on again so you can see what's wrong. All right. Now let's see if we can't get a little bit closer on this one. Now actually, I'm trying to set up here, but it's this sprinkler head down here. And if it weren't for the leaf here, maybe you can see it spitting out the back there. So that's a matter of another replacement. And in this case, we're talking about micro sprinklers, so I need to go get the appropriate head. All right, let's see if we can't dig one out of the bag here. Fortunately, with these, you can buy them in bags of, what is this? 10 pack. So 10 pack for like $5, not that bad. And this is what the head looks like. Let's see if I can get that in the shot there so you can see the flags. You can see on the top there is where it actually emits. On the bottom is a thread which will go into that tube. So that's all I got to do is remove the old one, put the new one in. Yeah, I think it got stepped on is what happened. Like I said, accidents. I have a tendency to step on things, trip on things. I'm losing my coordination here. I'm going to unscrew the old one, screw in the new one. Alright, why is it not threading? Well, it appears to be in, just acting a little funny. But let's see if I've got it aimed right. We'll go turn it on again. Nope, spitting out the side. So, this may be a different problem. Let me go turn it off. Yeah, the threads are kind of small, and I think I've replaced that one before. So I think what's happening is the threads in the tube itself are not, how can I, basically I need to cut the top off the tube and rethread it. So, okay, that's cut. We'll ream it out slightly. I'm going to try and put the old one back in. Hopefully that'll feel like it's yeah, it feels like it's threading. And now I got to get it around to where it should be emitting. Put it back in the little stand there. Keep the new one for the future and try again. That should get it going. Let's see. It's spitting out the side just a little bit. We're going to pop it out without a total disaster here, because it is spitting off to the side a little bit. Oh, that made it worse. Alright. I think I need to cut off more. Alright, let's see. Good 90 degrees. Spitting out the other side just a little bit, but that's not that bad. Not as bad as before. Now I can probably rotate this slightly. Let's hope. So it's not projecting over the wall. Yeah, that's putting out quite a bit. Alright, that's got that one. I'll put the replacement back in its package. Looking at the others, just spin you around. So, I have the carrots in the shot. Yeah. So this one just got twisted a little. That's pretty good. The other 90 is pretty good. And I'm not going to worry as much about the ones up above, because if they overspray down. Yeah, I think that's pretty much got it. So that may be it for today, because I can see the sun coming out and it's probably about to get fairly hot. So a fair amount accomplished today. I think tomorrow, or whenever the next time I can get to it, I'm going to try and go up on the hill. I got to deal with all that piping, kind of covering it up and making it look a little bit neater. Plus I had to pull out some of the hardscape to fit that in. Got to get all that solved. And I think the ice plant below the pumpkin path, that ice plant's not in the greatest of shape, so I'm just going to pull out what isn't in good shape. I'll leave the little bit of healthy stuff that's there, and I think I'll straighten it all out, make it look nice and neat, and then I'm going to plant something for an alternative ground cover. So that's, I think, where we are for today. Let's see what tomorrow brings.